Day, where Misfits Gaming are looking to continue their massive win streak. However, the young lineup face a near impossible challenge against G2 Esports. So let's focus our attention on the bunny for a second. The funny bunny. Frost, what do you reckon?
Well, there's kind of like two sides to this. The first side is Misfits hype. They're now on a 4-game winning streak, I believe.
0-2, 4-2.
Unfortunately, they have really tough opponents, or the hardest strength of schedule. I guess what I want to start is they've kind of breezed through some of the smaller teams, found, I think, a surprise victory, maybe two, which puts them in this tie for second. But kind of turning to Finn, do you feel that Misfits are a threat to you guys? Or like, where would you kind of rank this team?
I would say upper half for sure, playoff contention, maybe even secure playoffs. They're up there with like Excel and Mad for sure. I think these three teams are just slightly below the other four.
So would you say it's like, because I always rank it as like G2, Fnatic, Origin, Rogue, and then we just had this conversation where like, who really is the third place team? Is it Rogue or is it Origin? Yeah. And then it's Excel, Mad, Misfits. It's kind of my soft power rankings right now.
I mean, time will tell where we will end up. I think hopefully we will reach top 3 in the end of the split. We're still figuring out how we want to play and stuff. But I would say that Excel, Mad, and Misfits, it's hard to rate them for me right now. I think they're all on the same level, and I think the team that plays better on the day will probably win in a match between these teams.
Is there any player in specific on Misfits that you think is kind of like their key player? We were talking a little bit about Febiven and how well he's playing. I think
Febiven is playing really, really well lately. I think he has found some good synergy with Razork, and they're working pretty well together, and they're moving across the map. I also think Dan has been playing really, really well lately. He's always doing his job, I would say. Either if it's on the GP or the set or the Aatrox, he's always kind of doing his role for the team, and it's really making it a lot easier for the team to play around him and pick up those wins. That's really necessary. And
kind of picking up off of what Finn's talking about with like Febiven and Razork, I think Razork's also a guy that I really want to highlight, simply because he's kind of like the night and day difference. Like Febiven is very consistent right now, and Razork is having pop-off performances. And it's really like with Febi in this Misfit squad for this middle of the pack, they just need one other person to really step up. And more often than not, it has been Razork or Dan being consistent. But like, it's who's going to consistently rise with Febiven to make sure that Misfits continue on this development.
And for you, Finn, who is that pairing? Is it Razork? I mean, obviously, jungle mid synergy is always going to be a topic of discussion, but is that the second name in that list, in this roster of Misfits? I
mean, just a strong top side is what I would give them. These three people together, I think they can unlock the bot side and create a lot of plays on their own and kind of carry the team through smart plays and good map movements.
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes on them. Now, I tried to, this is a term that's quite common in Counter-Strike. We use the term gatekeepers, as in a team that, you know, they're kind of stuck in this middle of the pack where you're never, you know, if you beat them, then you are within the top 4.
They decide the top.
Precisely, they determine. If you can beat them, then that you're above them, and everything else, you know, you can't beat them, then you just are, you belong in the bottom. Do you think gatekeepers could be a fix to Misfits if the season continues the way it has?
It's actually a phrase that we used really commonly for Splice last year.
Oh, perfect.
Obviously now Mad Lions have the spot, so I actually am aligned with you that it's probably Mad Lions or Misfits. I'd give the edge that personally I think that I see a bit higher ceiling in Mad than I do in Misfits right now, but maybe I just need to see more tape of Misfits. But I agree with you. I think it's kind of these two squads that will be the defining line for if you beat us, you make playoffs, but otherwise they're my bottom playoff teams.
Now, the Champion Select is coming up shortly, so I just wanted to start getting a couple of the opening conversations that we've been having throughout the day thrown towards you, Finn. We brought up the changes from 10.3, and a couple of people were, you know, leaning towards this, the Yuumi changes, thinking we're going to see a lot of Yuumi. Do you also kind of think that we're going to be seeing more of the kitty, we're going to be seeing more of the set? Is there any particular priority that's currently been going down in these 4 games that you think is misplaced?
I mean, I think the Yuumi priority is something that teams recently started picking up on. The champion, it kind of changed playstyles. People were a bit surprised because before she would just be this in and out champion that would constantly put herself in danger and jump back in safety. But now she's more of this really safe champion that she doesn't really leave the guy she's on.
She just sits inside.
Yeah, she's just pretty much chilling, and I don't know. I think we'll see way more Yuumi priority coming up. Maybe not this week, or maybe tomorrow or next week, even more, because people will figure out how to utilize their champion. And maybe even people will figure out these cheesy counters that have been seen before. For example, like a Mordekaiser that just smacks her out of the partner.
If you haven't seen it, Machine, what Moore does is he ults the partner and he can separate them. And
He
then,
actually has the power to separate them.
And then you kill, one person kills the ADC, one person kills the support.
Perfect. Has there been a cat laser pointer joke made? Because that sounds like a good time to make it.
Not yet, but speaking of Yuumi, yeah, G2 Esports don't want to play with that. We talked earlier in the day about how with the Akali nerfs coming through, that probably the ban spot of like permaban Akali would probably change over to Soraka.
Yeah.
She hasn't been 100% pick ban on the day. I think that's a bit wrong, because I think Soraka's not my favorite champion, Finn.
Well, I'm an expert in losing to Soraka, so I highly value this Soraka ban by Misfits. It's quite standard, I would say, especially against G2. It's one of the scariest team to give Soraka, because I think they have the flexibility to play her all over the place. I've heard legends of it. Who knows? Maybe it will come out today. But I see Syndra ban as well from Red Side. It's really standard, especially against a team like G2 that can play it both lanes. Lucian as well. They're just targeting a lot of the strong flex picks for solo laners and AD carry position.
Do you think this is a Aphelios lock-in then?
I would assume they would pick Aphelios here, unless they have another priority. They could also look to pick a jungler, like Gragas.
And of course, we talked about this earlier on the day with Machine when talking about the draft. The fact that Senna got hit really hard means that Aphelios just rises up in priority, especially when you things like the Yuumi and Soraka being banned away.
Yeah.
But there's your other favorite champion.
I mean, I'm not a big fan if they look in the set here. I think I would rather go for a strong jungle and maybe like a Gragas MF rotation, or either side Rakan. I mean, now they're kind of locking their third pick with Rakan.
Yep.
So G2 can kind of anticipate it by looking like, I don't know, like a Leona or a Tam that would give them a really good bot lane matchup.
Do you think there's any value in taking the Rakan away, or do you feel fine that you can give Xayah Rakan and still find a winning matchup?
I think if you have Aphelios, you can always give them Rakan, because they should be able to get a winning to a bot side, even if they have the full kit. What they can also do is take a jungler now and then ban out two junglers from Razork. I would go Gragas, yeah. Because this opens up a lot of strong mid lane picks, like the Kiana, the Yasuo, like these AD mid laners that are really powerful right now.
I think Jankos definitely was just pulling fun by flashing the Sejuani, but something to take note of as Sejuani rises in priority, especially with Aphelios, is Aphelios Braum work really well together, and Braum Sejuani is so obnoxious together because of their passives.
Yeah, now they didn't lock in the support. They went for the Yasuo instead, which I think is fine. What Misfits could look to do here is put the set mid. I think it's a pretty good matchup into the Yasuo.
Do you think it's also a flex on the Yasuo? Like, you expect Gragas Yasuo mid jungle combo, but
I mean,
that Wunder can take it?
they could possibly put the Yasuo top, but the Yasuo top is not something you really want to blind pick, assuming you know that the other top laner can play a lot of scary picks, like Dan. He has this Nocturne, for example, that completely shits on the Yasuo top. But now they lock in the Rakan, which was kind of expected. So now G2 will look to pinch the jungle pool, I would assume. Maybe look for a Olaf and Lee Sin ban, some of the sort, Olaf and Lee ban, something like this, that just put Razork on the worst possible jungle for him.
Do you think they're going to pinch, or Misfits will pinch support pool to get rid of things like the Thresh? Maybe try to force Mikyx onto Kench? He's not the most comfortable Kench player.
I think like this, there are too many good supports for G2 to pick.
So it's not worth
matchup. Yeah. What I like what they're doing instead, they're targeting the best blind pick tops, for example Aatrox, maybe even Ornn. Ornn looks really nasty with the G2 combo right now. The Yasuo Gragas Ornn could surely be really dangerous if they give them over.
Last ban coming in from Misfits Gaming now.
Yeah, they banned the Elise, which makes sense. Because a lot of these AD mids are really strong right now, so getting a strong AP jungler like the Elise is really key to unlocking these champions' full potential, because that makes the itemization for the enemy mid laner really hard.
Likewise, Febiven's been doing really well on the Kiana, which that works really well with the AP AD.
They did take a shot at the support pool.
They did ban Nautilus, which is a bit weird. I feel like Leona and Tam will all give a really good matchup for the G2, but I guess they really didn't want to play against the Nautilus. Maybe they have something else prepared.
Something spicy, I hope. I think it really is just that you kind of pick your poison with Mickey, because he'll either go Thresh or Nautilus. Not that he can't play Leona and Tahm Kench, but just they're not as effective or as good looking as when he gets something like his Thresh.
So they take off the GP, which is a bit weird, but I guess they want to blind pick something and not give Dana his most comfortable champion, which is the GP. Sejuani I would like here a lot. It would open up for a really strong mid-top flex for the set. They can round out the comp with pretty much whatever they want. Even a Diana mid lane, for example, would be pretty powerful here because of the synergy with Sejuani and this solo AP threat of the Diana with a follow-up to Rakan. That's Echo.
So Razork apparently has a really strong jungle Echo. It's one of kind of his pocket picks.
His solo queue picks.
I would assume this Echo to go jungle unless G2 picks something really weird mid. Or okay, I mean this Echo is probably for sure going jungle. That's what I would think.
God, it is
That
quite-
also means that it's probably going to be Qiyana for Febiven, but the only thing is then you have a lot of melee champions, but it's going to be some sort of AD mid laner since you have so much magic damage coming out of
I
Razork.
mean, I would probably look to put the set mid in this game, and then look to give a nice counter pick to Dan in the top lane. Because now Wunder needs to blind pick. I would probably go for the Ornn or maybe Mordekaiser, something like this. I'm a bit curious to see what he'll do if he brings out the Sona.
If he does something like Ornn or Mordekaiser, is there a champion that you think Dan should gravitate towards?
I'll need to see. Don't lock in the Sona, please. Don't do this. Don't. Why is he doing this to us?
Okay, so we make the joke that Wunder has the 7 wonders of the world, and there's like these 7 signature legacy picks that he has, Sona top being one of them.
I mean, I hate this. Now everyone's gonna start playing it as well.
I thought she got changed in 10.3.
So here's the thing.
Not enough?
It works in top lane as a funnel. What you do is you build the support itemization and you actually forego farming minions, and you're just trying to stack the support item as quickly as possible by using poke, and then once your jungler completes his jungle item, he actually doesn't have repercussions against farming the top lane. This is how it works in solo queue. We'll see if G2 actually do it. So it's about like a 2v2 the jungle, and Sona's like running down river constantly into Yasuo.
Yeah.
So this will be Wunder, sits in lane, gets gold item, is poking, then Jankos comes and farms his lane, then the two of them use the E, run down river towards Perkz, and just start chucking things at mid.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So when he's not playing Soraka Ambulance, he's whipping out a Sona for us to enjoy. So we'll check that one out, and we've got our draft locked in. It is a crazy storyline, isn't it? You know, you've got this rookie star-studded roster going up against the gods of LEC at this point in time. It does seem like a David versus Goliath story. But my question is, you know, how much do you think Misfits have got a shot in this? You've seen the draft.
Yeah.
You think they've got a shot?
I think they have a good shot, actually. I kind of like the Misfits draft. They kind of going for the game plan that they want to kind of, not chill, you know, but they want to play a slow early game, and they want to let the Azir scale up. I think if Misfits can do that, they have a shot to win.
Okay, keep our eye on the Azir. You can see Caps on your screen, his eyes fixed to his. We are going to be jumping into this one. It's time for us to work it all out, put the pieces together. The G2 fans are here, and they're here en masse to witness. Will this be the 7th? Will G2 continue to be undefeated? We're going to see if this win streak does continue right here, right now, as Misfits and G2 hit the rift.
Well, they will hit the rift in just a second's time, Machine. You build up all the expectation and the hype, but we have a pause just coming out to start us off. Now, before we get into game, before we get into champion discussion videos, I do want to bring up something Perkz said on stream yesterday about Razork on Echo.
Oh, yeah?
So Razork has an 80% win rate on Echo in solo queue.
That's quite high.
Perkz was playing support Nautilus against it yesterday, and he got demolished.
Right.
And Perkz actually said he always smurfs on Echo jungle. I hope he doesn't smurf on it against us tomorrow on stage. So we'll see what happens.
Wow. Okay. I'm excited. So it's funny because Echo Jungle got nerfed specifically on this patch, where his damage to monsters is now slightly lower than it was before. So his clear speed is a little bit weaker.
Yep.
But I don't think it removed him as a jungler. It just made it a little bit weaker.
Well, we are going to get on into the game in just a moment's time, I believe. And they just gave me a weird hand signal there, but nothing's actually happened. What was that hand signal for?
I got a ping saying, like, get ready to toss. And I was like, okay, medic, toss.
Okay, well, you didn't verbalize any of those, and I can only read you so well. We got there in the end, Vedius.
Yes,
handed it off, and now we take back the reins. Now, Vedi, we didn't get to talk that much through pick and ban. You were concentrating on what Finn and the MSF
It doesn't matter. Let's just talk about the Sona, because that's all anybody cares about. So, I think, well, this is definitely the first time we've seen it in Europe. I'm not sure if this is the first time we've seen it globally. I don't think it's been picked in LCS or LCK as of yet. But this has definitely been a thing that has been around in solo queue a lot. And we can already see Wunder off to a great start, as he already gets himself 2 very quick stacks off of his support item. And you will have heard Frost talking about it on the analyst desk. you don't really farm on Sona top. You basically just want to stack your passive. You will take the odd last hit here and there. You might kill a cannon minion. You might like just take the odd farm. But basically, you just want to stack up your passive as quickly as possible. You'll also see an early Kershey's Shard, which is one of the components for making things like Static Shiv, but the main reason why you do it is because of the changes that happen to Sona's E, where she gets much more bonus movement speed to herself. It's extremely easy to stack, and it gives you really effective poke in lane. So it's a very cheap item, it works extremely well and synergizes very well with Sona, and basically once she's got that item, she doesn't play top lane anymore. She leaves. Now I am surprised by Wunder's rune choice, and Summoner Spell choice, because in solo queue, he often does Dark Harvest, and he often runs Ignite. So he's choosing to run the Teleport this time around, which does surprise me, because again, I don't expect him to actually be playing much in the top lane, but you can see Wunder looking to build up those stacks. He's going to keep harassing, and it's super obnoxious, especially for a set, because there's little he can do to close the gap, especially at early levels. So you just kind of have to sit back, you take the farm. You can see how Wunder, he takes a couple of the last hits, but he's not taking all of them. His focus is on just harassing and landing that poke.
You want to stay below, of course, that cutoff, the excessive minion kills that you have on the support item. Wunder will now have his W, I assume, the aria of Perseverance, my mistake, and will continue to harass. Perkz on his trademark Yasuo in the mid lane. Losing out a trade against Febiven.
Yeah, so this matchup is super rough for the Yasuo. You can see that every time you try to go in and trade, initially it might seem quite good for the Yasuo, but a really confident Azir player will appreciate that, hey, every time he tries to close the gap, I throw a soldier up, I auto him, and then as he's dashing away, you follow with your Q, which means that you then apply a slow and you can land another auto. So sometimes you'll see on Yasuo's Hail of Blades where they try to go in, go those 3 auto attacks and then dash out. Against an Azir, that's not as effective, which is why you're seeing the fleet footwork to offer a little bit more sustain. And he's also started with the Doran Shield to help mitigate a lot of the poke that often comes out from this Azir matchup as well. So I like the itemization choices from Perkz, but you'll see him get bullied around a lot, and you expect him to fall a little bit behind in the farm department as well.
You see Jankos and Perkz trying to get control of the vision around this mid lane. Ward up towards the Razorbeaks, Ward down here, spotting out Razork. Now Misfits did ping this Ward, so that they know it's there. Razork will understand he's on vision, but happy just to trade Scuttle Crab top and bot right now.
Just gonna clear that one out. Here, Razork has done a largely full clear, as you mentioned, without doing the grump as well. We see a bit of a trade in the bot side.
The root didn't quite connect down to Caps. It could have spelt his demise if it did. Now here comes Razork coming down towards the bottom lane. There's a wave pushing in. It's only 5 minions strong. 4 now as Caps takes out 1. And we'll see.
I don't think he's actually going to go for this dive. I think the minion wave is too thin. And normally, when junglers are looking for a dive, they'll actually catch the wave before it hits the tower, so that the minion wave is much closer to the tower, and you kind of threaten what is going to happen in advance.
I really like this from G2 though. Mikyx and Caps realizing the wave's going to push into our tower. Anyway, we can come back and get the farm. Let's keep these Krugs alive for Jankos, who's on his way down. Parallel conversions coming out. Caps locked up, but is able to flash away. And now Bvoy flashing forward, but Jankos is here in time. Trying to turn this one around. Denyk flashes with the Ignite. Bvoy's got a ball. The TP coming in, but it's 1-for-1 in the bottom lane. TP cancelled. Wunder not able to get there in time because a great base breaker comes out. Now Razork's trying to trade back into this, but the concussive blows are just going to lock him in place. Denyk unable to do anything about it, and now he's going to be next on the menu. Concussive blows, 1 more auto needed. Jankos flashes forward, there it goes. Denyk will have the W up in just a second's time, but it's not here now, and that's 3 kills to G2.
And Jankos was able to respond because he saw what Razork was up to. He was spotted out on the Krugs, and that meant Jankos was like, okay, my bot lane could be in danger. I've got to start pathing down to try and offer some assistance. And again, look at the minimap. You can see the pings, the blue pings coming out from G2 highlighting, hey, we think that Razork is around the bot side of the map. Can we please get some assistance? And here comes Jankos. I think Misfits just overcommitted to this play. They could not make that initial dive happen, but they tried to make it happen anyway, and this is where they overcommit. And while they do get that initial kill onto Caps, they ultimately lose 3 people, but Razork isn't done yet.
He's all over the map already. Wunder flashes away, down, hits the Haymaker! And Wunder goes bye-bye. Misfits, 2 kills on the board early on. Still behind, of course, because of that third kill down towards the bottom lane. But Razork's already showing us why you need to fear his Echo.
This is one of the great things that I love to see when playing against a Sona top. Just camp that champ. This Sona is so squishy. Her base HP right now, let me tell you what it is. Her base HP is 731.
I believe
it is
it's lowest
so
in the game
low.
to start with,
It's
right?
very, I think Yuumi may be the only other one, but she only has 32 magic resistance this early on, which means that it's very easy for the Echo to get a lot of damage out, but she's just super squishy, very immobile.
Oh, Caps! No, this isn't good. This isn't good at all for Caps. Misfits, what were you doing, Caps?
Yeah.
Just stepped way too far forward. Is correct, Betty.
That's a question mark ping right there. We'll have a look at the replay, see exactly what happens as Perkz goes for a bit of a cheeky trade in mid lane. Yeah, I'm surprised by the amount of action that we're... why am I surprised? It's G2 games. What am I talking about? I love the proactivity that we're seeing from Misfits. They're trying to go toe-to-toe with G2 in the early game. They're trying to play around where they have pressure. They attack the bot lane, they're attacking the top lane, and they're finding kills. They currently sit with a small early game gold lead, and they're looking pretty good. Caps, so he tries to play defensively. He goes for a bit of a trade against Denyk. Of course, Denyk hasn't used his W yet, and Caps just takes one step too far. He should have just forced Denyk back, and then that should have been the end of it, sat underneath his tower, but he oversteps, loses his life, and now he's sitting at 2 deaths and 20 CS behind Bvoy.
Yeah, he's 600 gold behind in that lane right now.
Yes.
That Xayah is going to be incredibly strong, and the power of Xayah Rakan could keep this snowball rolling for Misfits.
And one of the things I wanted to talk about for Misfits is that their laners, actually the split, have not been that strong. Febiven has been pretty reliable, but when you look at top lane and bot lane, they've actually averaged a minus 15.8 CSD, both of them.
Yeah.
They often fall behind in lane, and you have to say, okay, sure, Razork, he usually plays around the mid lane. The bot and top don't get that much investment. The bot lane also often plays more defensive bot matchups. But now that we see Razork not investing in the mid lane, investing towards the side lanes, and you're also playing against the Sona top lane, they're going to be able to remedy those CSD stats very quickly, but so far they've had a great early laning phase, and it's kind of been up to Jankos to try and rectify and save this situation.
Facial Fisher used in the bottom lane, the root's going to come out, but here comes Razork. Bvoy almost dead, but Caps oversteps once again, and the chase is on. Misfits with another kill. Caps is 3 down already in this lane. Jankos not even on the right side of the map to do anything about it.
And this was a situation where G2 thought that Bvoy and Denyk had misstepped. They had overstayed their welcome, and G2 could get a good punish. But you need to appreciate the fact that Jankos is on the top side of the map. You don't have full information on where Razork could be. You can actually see that his blue buff is up right now, but it depends on whether G2 can get that deep jungle information. But either way, it ends up being Caps losing his life, still not level 6 yet.
Oh, Febiven's going to push Perkz underneath the turret here. Jankos on his way, 2 turret shots into the back of the Yasuo, but Jankos coming in. Febi still has the heal, still has the flash. Very safe underneath that turret.
Perkz playing this matchup extremely well. Knows he does have the jungle assistance as well, but notice that he actually has a small CS advantage. As the levels get higher and the sustain he has on his fleet footwork, he's feeling a lot more comfortable in this matchup. Let's see if Caps oversteps once again.
Have you learnt your lesson, Caps? That's the question.
I mean, the expectation is that this duo has reset. It's
Denyk
not unreasonable to think that the
Denyk goes in, the charm comes out, and Caps goes down once again. Bvoy 2-1 and 2. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Jankos gets the kill. Perkz, one more turret shot. It's enough, but the tower takes him down. Febi not able to get an auto attack in. Razork tries to get a bit of dessert on the top of that fight, but unable to find too much. Now, Wunder has roamed down. The River Sona on its way. Mikyx there as well. Razork pops back with the chrono break, but Mikyx tanking up the tower. There's the crescendo, and Razork parallel convergence is enough to save him with the TP coming in. Razork survives, and Dan is there just to act as a bouncer for the turret.
Ooh, okay, but Misfits sitting with the gold lead. Jankos, congratulations on getting 2,500 LEC assists. That's a lot of assists.
It is a lot of assists. So I'm actually going to say he's at 2,499. I'm sorry, guys.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I didn't cue the graphic myself, and we thought he had an assist off that kill, but he actually got the kill. Oh. And so he is still 1 assist short of 2,499.
Guys, we're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry.
Sorry, guys.
He's at 2,499, but now you all have something to look forward to.
I did miss Mickey's 2001st assist.
Denyk!
Sorry. We missed his 2000s last week. We forgot that it happened.
You had one job, Denyk. A lot of assists have been gained by the G2 team. We don't have time. Fight top lane.
Yeah, Dan flashing in. Razork, look at where the power convergence is.
Oh!
Dunk him into the baby cage and then take the kill. Just camp that champ, Vedius.
Camp that champ. And Wunder not having the impact that we often see from Sonas. Oh, here's the ult.
Perkz with the knock-up. Jankos there as well. Great disengage by Bvoy. Had to burn his flash. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Dan hitting turrets, getting plates, getting gold.
I mean, right now, G2 is just being bullied across the map. The 2v2 is just straight up losing. Admittedly, a lot of influence has come off the back of Razork, but he has been all over the map right now. It's not like Jankos is slacking, right? This guy is not, he's doing what he can, but the amount of times Caps has just died in the 2v2 in the bot side of the map, the amount of times that Danon has been able to shut down Wunder. Normally we see the Sona roaming around way more. Normally she's just abandoned that lane, she's going mid, she's going bot. You can see the Kushi shard has been complete, and this is where you really start to see her just get involved with the rest of the map, but Wunder's really just stayed focused in the top lane, and we haven't seen that same level of roaming that we normally expect from the Sona.
And even with the Rift Herald used here, Perkz will be second on the play to take down the turret. In the mid lane, looks like they're going in. Oh, the great knockback there from Febiven. Caps caught out once again. Mikyx tanking at the tower. Wunder on his way. Will be able to force Febi back. And Misfits, 1,000 gold ahead at the 12-minute mark here, Betty, is against G2 no less. Now G2,
I was going to say that
in early games.
That happens a lot.
They have some in early games. Caps has got 5 deaths already.
He has 5 deaths. This is the first craps we've seen all season, to be fair. I mean, many people were wondering, you know, hey, maybe he's got the int out of him. You know, ever since he's become an AD carry, he's become a lot more consistent. I think we can safely say this is his first bad game on AD carry that we've seen from him.
I mean, he's died 8 times across the course of the rest of the split. And he's died 5 times in this game.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's okay. They happen. I think the people that are making up the slack right now is Perkz and Jankos. This duo...
Oh, here we go, Jankos. But Bvoy able to survive. Bvoy might even get out of this alive. They get one. Perkz trying to get the kill. Bvoy will fall, and that is Jankos' 2,500th assist. Here comes the crescendo off towards the side. Congratulations, Jankos. Good stuff for you. Dan's fighting off towards the top side of this, and so far it's a 2-for-1 in favor of G2. But Febi's here now, trying to trade in, has to flash away. And bring down that graphic as the concussive blows comes out. Mikyx, great Glacial Fissure across the wall, and G2 have turned this. Dan caught out as well, pulls the Haymaker, but can't even take down. Oh, it can get Caps, just in the end. Razork comes back off from the side, but that was a great fight for G2.
And all of a sudden, G2 are back in the game.
They are.
A single fight and the game flips on its head. They were at a 1.4k gold deficit. They now have the gold lead. A lot of shutdowns were, of course, picked up in favor of G2. And Caps, he was actually very aggressive in that fight. He flashed in, he was dealing a lot of damage. He couldn't find any kills though. He was getting a bunch of assists, he was assisting his team, that's for sure, but he was not getting the gold. A lot of that went into the back pocket of Perkz. When we get a look back at how the fight played out, you can see that it was a situation where I think Misfits, the setting looked good, but then I think they overcommitted to the fight. And because they overcommitted, that allowed G2 to be able to turn things around. And in these prolonged fights, that's why Sona can be really obnoxious. So let's have a look back. You can see that Jankos and Perkz, they think they've called out Bvoy. They think that he, you know, they can get that kill. But of course, Misfits are lying in wait in the Dragon Pit. Really good stun kills. Jankos, we see a quick wind wall here come out to try and mitigate some of the damage, but it doesn't really help. We don't have time. We have another fight.
Febi's getting dived in the top lane. Perkz doing what he can, but Febi able to survive for the moment. He's going to take down Perkz. He dodges out the barrel as well, and Jankos
That's a double!
It's Febi couldn't survive. Jankos goes in, flashes out, he gets in. Well played, Jankos.
All right, Jankos is the Smurf this game. Jankos is doing everything he can to carry G2 because there are a lot of misplays on the side of G2 right now. That dive did not go the way they wanted. Props to Febiven. He had some great outplays. Now the dive.
Oh, poor baby Caps. He gets taken out again. And Misfits, you can just jump back with a chrono break. You can just disengage with the Rakan. And Caps, he's currently 1,500 gold behind in that lane. You have an Essence Reaver complete on either side, but Bvoy going to be able to go back and start building up that item advantage.
I love the aggression that we're seeing from Misfits. I feel like a lot of it's coming from Razork, and I don't know if it's insulting to say it almost feels like that he's treating this like a solo queue game, you know? It feels like that he's not putting... It sounds rude, but he's not putting a huge amount of thought into a lot of it. He's just like, okay, I see a gank here, I see a gank here. You know, he's kind of relying on his instincts, and he's making so many successful plays happen. 3-1 and 3 right now. The man has found so many successful plays. He's helped Misfits get back into the gold lead, and you can see why this is a comfort pick for him, really knowing his limits and mitigating a lot of the aggression that G2 is trying to force.
Right now at the 16-minute mark, Misfits have a 1,000 gold lead. They have been a little bit more methodical over the last 2 weeks. I compared some of their stats from week 1 to week 3, and they just slowed down the game in the early game on average, which is why I was very surprised to see them come out of the gate swinging just this much. Wunder has joined up with the rest of G2 in this mid lane. It's a 5-man stack for them. Razork and Febiven are going to take this Rift Herald.
Yeah, G2 trying to trade it for pressure in the mid lane. You can see a huge amount of farm just being lost in the top lane. Wunder not going to be picking that up anytime soon. He's got to be very careful pathing that way through the jungle, as he could be in danger. Mikyx now. He has the shield, so he's going to be able to get out of that one. Misfits has 5 members. They're going to siege on mid. They also have the Rift Herald, but I don't think they need it. They can just take this tower and then maybe even use the Rift Herald to go even further if they want to.
Shirellia's in. Mikyx has to flash away. They dash back out. New Shirelia is so good on Rakan. I say new, relatively new. Able to get in and out of these fights pretty quickly. Perkz is off in a side lane by himself. But Wunder is as well. Waiting in the bush, Razork. Wunder dodging around. Yeah, you don't win these, I'm afraid. Crescendo not even going to stop the damage coming through.
Razork finds another kill.
Yeah.
Level 11 now. He has that level advantage over Jankos, and Misfits not slowing down. They're grouped up in the top lane. Yasuo being forced back to try and catch this wave, but you have to give props to Misfits, you know? I've definitely been someone that's been critical of their play, been willing to give them the full acknowledgement. Like, you don't go on a 4-game winning streak playing poorly, right? They've definitely been very solid, but I think I've looked at them as a team that has just been solid, you know? A team that showcases strong fundamentals, good play, strong team fighting, and a lot of it comes off the back of Febiven. But in this game, we're seeing Bvoy and Denyk and Razork, you know, the players that are new to the LEC stage really stepping up against G2 and not holding anything back.
Yeah.
They've been finding a lot of great picks, they've been going toe-to-toe, and they sit with the gold lead. The challenging part comes from holding on to this lead. G2 is not a team that bends over and just dies once you start getting aggressive, because they will fight back. And now we get to see if Misfits can handle that pressure.
Well, if this game is anything to go by, Caps does sometimes die.
Oh, he does.
When you put a bit of pressure
definitely
onto
does.
him. And we'll see. It looks like Misfits are trying to make a play down towards this bottom side, but there's no one there for them. It's a 2,500 gold lead for Misfits. G2 do have some scaling. We talk about the Sona in late game fights. Yasuo, of course, scales incredibly well. And Aphelios, if you can get some items on him, will do pretty well as well. So if they can get to some of these mid-game fights, they're not out of it by any shape of the game.
Perkz is extremely strong right now, and if our observers could quickly flip over to the gold, you can see that it's quite an interesting spread. Notice that Dandan has significantly more gold than Wunder, somewhat as you'd expect, but a lot of the gold advantage actually comes from Perkz, as they're now looking for a kill onto Dandan. They're going to force him to flash, but they're not going to let him escape.
Flash forced by the Song of Celerity, but here comes Jankos. Knocks Dandan back, the last breath coming in as well. Dandan uses Showstopper, looking for the Grit Shield, but can't quite find it. Perkz able to escape. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, they're looking for the Glacial Fissure on Febi. Sentry goes down, it's taken out by the top. In the bottom lane, though, this is what Misfits are doing. They're playing the opposite side of the map. Perkz, no TP. Wunder has one, but he's going to go back to base. Inhibitor Tower was not broken by Misfits. They didn't want to go any further, but they're looking to catch out Caps and Mikyx. Razork trading in here, has the power of convergence, jumps back with the Chrono Break. Caps trying to get away, but he can't just about get out. The exhaust on Razork will not be enough. Perkz stayed in the top lane to take the tower, and now Wunder playing this roaming Sona, tries to do something. Bvoy almost pulls back the feathers through him. Misfits will turn to their second dragon of the game. It's a Mountain Drake, and they should secure that pretty easily.
The bloodshed is not slowing down.
23 kills in 20 minutes,
yeah. We're LPL right now, ladies and gentlemen. Misfits, though, 5 towers to 2. G2 were able to finally break another outer tower in the top lane, but that's another thing we have to acknowledge. This siege not the strongest. Of course, given the fact that Aphelios is so weak right now is a large part of that. Usually this champion can contribute a lot when it comes to sieging those towers, but 0 and 8 hasn't even upgraded his boots yet. He's been put very far behind, and a lot of the weight and responsibility is kind of falling on Perkz, but you can't underestimate the Sona. The Lich Bane now completed. Sork boots as well. This champion very fast and does a surprising amount of damage. Very little magic resistance has actually been completed for Misfits, and you'll notice that Merc treads, while being useful, will not be enough to mitigate a lot of the damage that will come out of this champion alongside the Gragas that's also going full AP. Yes, the Morello Nomicon Rush, very debatable. Sharkrez did release a great video on talking about its efficiencies. I imagine the main reason why he's doing it is to mitigate the healing on Razork. But let's see if they go for this pick.
Oh, great. Featherstone gets him out. That was perfect from Bvoy. He escapes the first bite of the fight. And G2, they thought they'd caught Misfits. But Bvoy with a split-second decision to pop his ult means that Misfits get to turn to the Baron. And this is what we were talking about, Vedius, the ability to keep that gold lead, to then snowball it, finding a fight like that, although it was on G2's terms, turning it around. Misfits now well in the lead in this game.
Yeah, I can't hype up Razork enough. This man is playing so well right now. Good ultimate from Bvoy. You can see that his Spidey senses are tingling a little bit, and he was definitely ready, but he's able to dodge that one out. Jankos tries to E to get the knockup still, but it's too little, too late. Dan with a great ultimate to help use Jankos to close the gap onto the Yasuo, and you can see the frustration on his face. Jankos has tried hard to carry this game, but that play was not enough, and now Misfits sit with the Baron. 4K, nearly 5K gold is their advantage.
Mickey, that's all right. Gets out with the Unbreakable. But I do want to talk a little bit about next steps, because we haven't really broken out how Misfits will now push with this Baron. Are we looking at a 1-4? Are we looking at a 1-3-1 for that?
I mean, you would imagine that they would go for a 1-4. Utilizing the Echo to try and look for picks alongside the Rakan. Very high mobility champions that could really take advantage of the fact that they are so strong right now. Level 13 for Razork. He matches the level of Perkz. He is so strong. Looks like he's also going towards the Nash's too. Here we go.
They don't go for it. They don't go for it. I was very excited there for a second. Denyk actually going down towards the bottom lane by himself, because he knows he can jump out of the fight if needed, just to buff up these minions, just to put the pressure on
Kind of playing like that pike that you often see in a side lane. Razork staying nearby to offer that extra bit of mobility.
Misfits seem settled just to get the mid lane turret for now. It will fall very quickly. Bvoy and Febi can push it in. Now G2, last legs. Their undefeated streak perhaps going to be broken by Misfits' consecutive win streak. Of course, Misfits have won their last 4 games in a row.
Yep.
Only bested in the league by G2, who are sitting at 6, of course. Here we go. Misfits down towards the bottom lane, looking to break open the base of G2. Only 23 minutes into this game. It's still early doors for both these teams. Set in the mid lane. Dan trying to split up G2 if he can. He's had a pretty strong performance on this set so far. Wunder heals up with the Aria of Perseverance, but you feel that he's going to be burst through pretty quickly. That Sona so squishy, so fragile when caught out. And this is where you say something, Thaddeus.
Well, I'm kind of looking at the state of the map right now, and you can see they have to dive to force the tower.
Oh, you can say something still. The Glacial Fissure coming out as Razork unable to take caps. He goes golden.
And this is the problem. I think the siege from Misfits, it's a little challenging because they kind of have to play through 2 lanes, and you can see that the wave clear from G2 is actually quite strong because they can use the wind wall to mitigate a lot of the pushing power on 1 lane, and then they have the AD carry plus the Gragas plus the Sona all just helping to hold the line. So Misfits, they do take a couple towers, but they don't actually break the base yet. And that's what I was about to say. I think they have to try and force a dive if they really want to make or want to take the tower down, and we saw it from Razork, and at the very least he got the exhaust out from Mikyx, which is great, because now that's not going to be available for the next fight. No heal on Caps as well, so Razork should be able to just solo kill Caps now. There's very little that he's going to do to stop him, and Denyk can just jump on top of him as well, because the Braum is not going to be able to do a huge amount when mitigating that engage that comes out from the Rakan.
You can see how far Caps has fallen behind here. Only Wunder and the supports underneath him. Of course, Wunder playing the Sona is expected not to get a huge amount of gold, but is about 3,000 behind Dan.
Yeah, but it's important to, as you rightly said, because he is playing a support champ, and once he gets death cap, that gold difference is probably a little, it doesn't really tell the whole story of how strong the Sona actually is. So I would say that G2 definitely weaker, 100%. You can see that very clearly in the AD carry difference. But I would say that if G2 can hold out long enough, I'm a little scared of how strong this Sona can be and how much damage she can output. Her ultimate is a very effective either engage tool or follow-up tool. But it looks like Misfits may have found G2.
Looking for Jankos. Perkz going in with the knock, but here comes the quickness, and Dandan's on his way. Looking for that base breaker, pulls them both back in as they were both trying to escape. The showstopper cleansed away, but he can't do much as Bvoy chasing onto Wunder. Mikyx there, Crescendo comes out, but it's just the disengaged tool. Misfits once again catch out G2, and maybe we'll look just to break this mid lane in here.
I mean, yeah, that's 30-second death timers on both Jankos and Perkz. Febiven sets up the tower. The wind wall is no longer available. Cap's doing what he can to wave clear, but I don't know if this is going to be enough to stop Misfits siege.
G2 will be thankful that Caps has Infernum to wave clear quickly, but still the inhibitor tower falls, and now Misfits knocking on a momentous win for them. Taking down a team like G2 even, I was going to say even with Sona top, but Sona top's viable. Sona top is a strategy.
They have played well.
Yeah.
You know, they punished the Sona top. They shut down the bot lane. They have, and I mean, so much credit has to go to Razork on his Echo. You talked about it being a signature pick. You talked about how Perkz was a guy that was afraid of it. And we get to see why. 7, 1, and 4 on this pick. But they know exactly what G2's trying to do. That G2 think that because they have push top, they can make this collapse down, but they don't have any control over mid, which means that it's easy for Misfits to find this collapse. Really good stun coming in from Dandan. He uses the ult. Yes, Perkz tries to QSS out of it, but it's too little too late. And then, of course, Mikyx and Wunder tried to come and help and save them, but they can't do anything. The damage is already done. Misfits, they have too much damage. They have so much gold. G2's best bet is to try and win a fight around Baron, but you just look at the levels and you can really see the difference. The itemization as well. Nash's tooth now completed for Echo. This is not normally what I see on Echo jungles. Things like the Lich Bane, sometimes we see things like the early Oblivion Orb for that extra damage, but synergizing with his passive, I think makes a lot of sense, and the damage speaks for itself, right? I mean, the man has been extremely influential.
We're getting to a point where you have to think, is this Echo a must ban against Misfits now?
Yeah, that's the debate.
Razork has had an absolutely stellar performance, most damage in the game on it. And for a
They're just going to melt through this Baron.
For a rookie in the LEC in 2020, he's making a name for himself. We heard Kazi in the Match of the Week's video saying, if I can take down Reckless, I should be rookie of the split. Well, Razork's currently taking down all of G2. Not single-handedly, but he's definitely been the most key contributing factor here for Misfits. 8,000 gold lead with the Baron.
We talked about him at the beginning of the day. Definitely a rookie to watch, and he seems to have only gotten better week on week, and this has definitely been his best performance as of yet. Level 15 on the Echo, extremely powerful. Misfits with the Baron now looking to siege.
That's the damage you talked about, though. Bvoy down to half HP from one Lich Bane proc. I think it was the Hymn of Valor.
Look at this from Dandan. He's pushing in the mid lane. He wants to make these super minions an extra point of pressure, but now Razork going to take over that responsibility as Dandan moves towards the bot. Misfits trying to play through all 3 lanes right now, so that G2 is forced to separate their wave clear as much as possible.
The thing about this is you're trying to get those waves crashing at the same time if possible. Top is a little bit ahead of bot lane, but looks like Dandan's going to try and force that wave as quickly as he can. Now Jankos on the flank. Razork will have the chrono break, will be able to dodge back, or can just jump across the wall, and that was wasted. Jankos got nothing out of that. Now they're looking for the inhib in bot and top. There's the Glacial Fisher, Caps from the side, tries to land the Moonlight Vigil, only hits on Denyk. Meanwhile in the bottom lane, Dandan has already taken the inhibitor tower, now looking for the inhib. Perkz with the Steel Tempest, only lands on Denyk's, not going to do too much. Razork's in the base as well, just acting as a decoy, as a distraction for G2, as Misfits break through the inhibitor line. 2 inhibs down now for G2. 1 more to follow, as Misfits are looking to take down the undefeated. Razork there with the parallel convergence. Febby going forward, but here comes the damage. Wunder forced away, already 1 down as Caps falls for what seems like the 100th time this game. The chase is on. Misfits have taken 3. They're just wiping G2 away. This is what G2 do to other teams, and Misfits have given them a taste of their own medicine. Razork jumping in. Perkz takes him out in the 1v1, but Dandan's there to follow up and mop up the kills. Misfits, 22 kills to 11, under 30 minutes, with a 11,000 gold lead, have defeated G2. They are the first team to beat G2 in 2020.
The undefeated streak comes to an end. It often happens with G2. Whenever we get to 6-0, the conversation around the 18-0, we always talk about it. And then there's always one team in Europe that makes the upset a reality, and it was Misfits. People were not expecting this. I definitely was not expecting this, but so much of the praise has to go to Razork. This man played so well on his signature champion, showcasing that the small nerfs did not matter. The frustration on the face of Grabs, clearly not happy with that game, and Caps' worst performance of the split, I think it's fair to say.
Well, he got more deaths in this game than he has for the rest of the split.
Yes.
So it definitely wasn't his best. Do want to praise Bvoy as well. I think in that bottom lane, Razork, of course, had influences, but he had an exceptional performance, able to continuously capitalize alongside Denyk on Caps over-positioning, overstepping. You saw them just getting kill after kill after kill.
We're seeing a sort of another rogue storyline from last split, you know? A lot of the young players coming onto this roster and having a really big impact.
Yeah.
And of course, you guys at home do get to vote for who you think had the biggest impact. Dan in top lane, Razork in the jungle, Bvoy in bot lane. You have to head over to the @LEC Twitter to make your suggestions. I personally think you should vote for Razork. We've been saying Razork differently all throughout the game.
Razor K.
Razor K.
Cut them up.
The Echo main.
Yeah.
This man, he smurfed on G2. Really impressive performance. And now you really have to really bring Misfits into that conversation of top 3. What is this team capable of? They've literally only gotten better each week.
Yeah.
And you can say what you want about G2's draft. You can say, oh, they only ran Sona top. Like, you don't get to excuse G2 for dying bot lane.
Yeah.
You don't get to excuse G2 for some of the plays that they made in the mid game. Misfits played clean, they played aggressive, and it was a lot of fun to watch. This team is only getting better, and they're going to be challenging the Fnatic. I mean, they've already beaten Origin. They've now beaten G2.
They've beaten XL. They lost to Rogue in week 1.
Yes.
They lost to Fnatic.
So, yes, so they have already lost to Fnatic. So now they're looking for that rematch against Fnatic, and they're looking like a scary team.
They really are. I mean, they're tied second place right now, and